visiting Wilkes County on business or pleasure? Stay in Wilkesboro at the Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, or Red Roof Inn and Suites. Enjoy Southern hospitality, cozy rooms, and a complimentary breakfast. Explore the mountains and then relax with us. You've earned it. Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Gary Hayes, good to see you, sir.
Good evening. Good to be here.
You just gave it away. You said good evening because it is evening. My goodness, let me just see here. It's 5:09 p.m., Saturday, October the 5th. Yep. And for those people who can read your shirt, Brushy Mountain Apple Festival,
yes,
that happened today. It always happens the first Saturday in October, right?
That's right. Always the first Saturday in October.
That makes it easy to remember. And this is put on by the Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club, of which you are the president now.
That's correct. I am.
So let's talk about the Ruritan Club. Before we get into the excitement of the Apple Festival,
okay,
let's talk about the Ruritan Club and what it does. What is its purpose as a civic organization?
Okay. Ruritan National is a national organization, mm-hmm, civic organization that their focus is to support and help the communities that we are in, the communities we serve. And that starts with as a national program, and then it filters down to the local clubs, mm-hmm, which we are. Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club is a local club here in Wilkes County, and we serve the community that we're in with looking out to support needs that's in the community, people that's looking for some help in some way.
What type of things do you tend to focus on?
People that have medical expenses that they've run across, tragedies that happen, natural disasters, similar to what's going on right now that we're all are dealing with up in the other parts of the state and as well as here in Wilkes County. Also, people that maybe needs a handicap ramp built or some work done on their home that maybe they're not able to financially to support that. Maybe we can come in. We may not be able to 100% recover from that situation, but we can help them.
Right.
We can provide that.
So it's really a hands-on. So it's a hands-on, more intimate type of a connection with the community than maybe, just a business organization. You're really focusing on individuals in the community.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. One of the things that we're proud of in Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club that we do, several things that we do, but one is we support the Lifeline project.
What is that?
In the Brushy Mountain community. Mm-hmm. And that is for people, elderly people, or people that's got health issues that they can carry an emergency system that they can push a button if they fall and need to immediate assistance from 911. They can do that instead of having to dial a phone.
So help I fallen and I can't get up. That idea.
That line.
Okay.
And so we do that. We sponsor that and help them as long as they need it. As long as that is a need. We support scholarships in our community. We provide for seniors in Wilkes Central High School, mm-hmm, in that area. We reach out to them and provide scholarships and follow them through till they finish college, as long as they keep their grades up and support and work endeavoring with whatever they're studying. We will support them.
You've been in the Ruritan Club here for how long?
46 years.
Wow. So 46 years. So you've been at it.
I'm a charter member of the Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club.
How long has the Ruritan organization been around?
It was started in I believe it's 1936 was in the 1930s, 1937.
Okay.
I'm going to say. So.
Okay, so it started in the 30s, and then Wilkes County came along a bit later than that.
Yep.
So you were there in the beginning. How did it originally start? Do you remember?
It started as a brainstorm of some local guys. Older than me, I was a young person at that time, and but they said we need to do something in this community for the community. We need to do something that pull some people together. Of course, they was focused on a men's club at that time or something like that they could and so they started looking out. Some couple of gentlemen like Jerry Smithy, which is passed on now, was one of the great leaders in our club. They started looking for different organizations, and they sort of zeroed in on this because it was focused on the community that we live in.
Do you remember when you learned about it and you were asked to join? Do you remember that time?
Yes, I sure do.
Tell us about that.
They was just reaching out to people in the community that lived there. They reached out to me and my father and a couple of neighbors that was in the game and said, can you come to a meeting? We just want to talk about this. We just want to put it out there. And so we all got together. They presented a little bit about the details of what Ruritan was, and pretty soon we made a decision to go ahead and see if we could charter the club.
So you and your dad both joined at the same time?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did the two of you talk about that and say, we should really look at this? And were there things that you talked about at home that you wanted to figure out if it was the right thing, or was it just something you both said, okay, we need to do this?
When they come to us and asked us about it, yes, he and I discussed it and said, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, we was heavily involved, and I still am in church, and some of the things that I've just talked about is things that typically in rural communities we think about churches doing. Right. And the churches are very active to do that in the Brushy Mountain community, and they still do. And I'm very active involved in that. But he and I discussed that and thought, well, okay, it'd be kind of fun to have something where some of the people that we know and associate with, work with, and that kind of thing, that we can just get together and laugh and talk about some things, but then have a serious side of this too, Did it open the door up for you and your father both to explore new ideas and meet other Ruritan members from around the country? Was that aspect beneficial for you? I did. I thought about that at that time, that it would be a great opportunity to reach out. Dad wasn't as much interested in that part as he was just in the community that we're in, but I thought it looked at it as being that opportunity. Did
it play out that way for you?
Yes, it has. It has. Yeah. I got involved in with my career after that, and so I wasn't as actively involved for a while as I've been in more recent years as far as that goes. Right. Yes, it's presented a lot of open doors to reach out and just learn from other people and the things that they're doing, other clubs and other communities and what they're doing.
One of the things that we see around the country now, here in the Carolinas, and then I suppose in Wilkes too, that there's not a strong effort. Maybe the effort is being applied to try to recruit younger members, but there are not a lot of young people getting involved with civic organizations as they did in the past.
Yes.
So what do you have to say as a president, as a longtime member, of why being involved with a civic organization of some type is a good thing to do for you, as a human? Why is it good?
It gives you the sense of fulfillment that I'm helping somebody. I'm helping that young person that's come through school and maybe is considering the next step of their career. I'm able to, without just writing a check to them myself, I'm able to support them from a group standpoint, and us showing them that as a group that we're behind them. The simple fulfillment of satisfaction of going out there and building that ramp for that elderly person that is having to struggle getting up and down those steps, and to seeing the smile on their face. You can't do that sitting at home and working on the computer and supporting national causes. They're important. They're vitally important. But, to do something that we can do in that community that impacts somebody that is a relative or a friend, or if maybe is the parents of a friend and things like that. And it pulls the whole group together in doing that. So I'd encourage young people to be able to come out. As I look back on when I done it and I was younger, what an impact it made on my life to be able to be around those people that were older in the community at that time and get to know them from that standpoint.
Did you learn things from them, Gary? I mean, even in helping someone, just being with them and getting to know them, getting to know about their life, because that has to happen as well, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
And in the doing of that, you learn some things.
Absolutely.
Right? What's one of the things that changed your life, having those experiences?
Well, it's being able to get to build friendships with people that maybe is in the medical profession, or they're independent businessmen, or government workers, that type of thing. You have that mix of people that's coming together every month, and they're sitting down discussing business about what the club functions and what we're going to do next month or next year, but also things that is important to the community itself.
It's enriching, isn't it?
And bringing people from different aspects, different walks of life together to do that. Farmers, we've had farmers, and I growed up in the apple orchard as well as many other people that I knew at that time. But there was other people from other walks of life that was associated with that.
Did that help understand that? Many of us, we all look different, we talk different, we have different educational backgrounds, we have different interests in life. But when you're serving with a group of people and with that difference being there,
yes, sir.
Does it help maybe level the playing field of life just by seeing that, we're not all really that different?
Yes.
We do care. And do you believe that's true? When you look at your national organization and you see all the different people, the differences that are there, does it give you a sense of peace knowing that, hey, there's bad stuff, but it's not as bad as some say?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
I believe that. I believe that with all my heart. It does give you that sense of coming together with a common thread of, we can all do good. We can bring our talents, our expertise, our knowledge of certain aspects of things, and pull all those together and do it, and also the enjoyment of getting to know those people that maybe otherwise we wouldn't. Right. And there's, many years ago, Ruritan National decided to bring women into our organization, and so they were able to come. Our spouses, our friends was able to come in and join, and so we brought that aspect into it, and the what they've added to
were you already a member then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
So you were already a member then. So as the equality, as our amendments were amended and included women's rights to votes and all the equality things that are out there. So civic organizations begin to act upon that and include everybody. And I can't help but to imagine that it was probably stronger.
Oh, it made a tremendous impact on our club when we done that, and it changed. Right now our membership is low. You asked that a while ago, and I want to see it pick up. We've bounced a lot of ideas around to what we can do to reach out to people. But yes, that has added a tremendous impact on to what our club does and other clubs too. I'm involved on when you asked a while ago about Ruritan National, there's, it's divided up into other sections, and I'm involved on a district level with that, and where there's several clubs involved in that, not only here in Wilkes County, but in other, there's 7 Ruritan clubs in Wilkes County.
Okay.
We're one of those 7, but there's several others in the state.
But the mission of all of them are, as far as the purpose of serving, that's the thing that is equal for everyone.
That's
right?
absolutely the equal
right.
stand. And we've just finished up the Apple Festival today, which is our fundraiser. We work together as fundraisers to be able to do the projects that we just talked about a while ago.
So the Apple Festival helps facilitate that service to the community.
Absolutely.
So whatever is generated through the activities, then it just rolls right back into the community.
It all goes back into the community.
Well, let's talk about the Apple Festival. Now, I wanted us to talk first about the organization.
And I thank you for doing that.
And I think it's healthy for us to understand because, and even talking about the evolution and growth, that's what happens in society, right? So I think it's important, and that's a mature thing for us to have adult conversations around it and be okay with it because I know some of the women in your organization, and if you fellas don't stay in line, they'll fix you.
You got that right.
Obviously, we're having fun with that. But the idea, let's talk about the Apple Festival because it's so huge. I remember as a child coming. So this is what year? The 45th anniversary.
Yeah.
And you've done one of these souvenir every year, right?
Yes, every year.
Every year you've done it. And the painting that's on the front, depicted on the front. I own some of those. And this one is this year. Tell us about this one.
This one is it's a commemorative print that is recognizing our Grand Marshal. For our Miss Audrey Smithy was our Grand Marshal for this year, and she has been the person that has done the commemorative quilt that we've done. And what we've done is Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club, we decided many years ago to recognize, first of all, we select a Grand Marshal each year to act as the Grand Marshal for the festival. Then we, as a token of that, we create a quilt for them.
Okay.
That we go to them and they select maybe some colors that they'd like to have used, and then we have that quilt made by somebody. And this particular year, we're recognizing Miss Audrey Smithy, which done that quilt for us for many years.
So she's not only recognized, and this is the year to honor her,
right,
but she's in the painting. So
That's
this
right.
is her in the painting,
That's right.
making a quilt. Did she make her own quilt this year?
No, she didn't make her own quilt. We didn't ask her to do it. We did ask her, but she said no. She graciously declined.
That's good. But, she was a smart lady. So I bet she'll be back at it next year, right?
I'm sure she will.
And she's
knowing Audrey.
And who did the painting?
Miss Betty Powell.
Okay. All right. And how long has she done the paintings?
She's done that for, I believe, 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then before, there was a lady that done it for many years, right?
Yeah, Caroline Finley
Right.
done it for a while, and then back beyond that, Mr. Bob Bogue, we all referred to him, which was a member of our club, but he was an artist and lived in the community, and he done them for many years.
How'd that idea come about? Because I know that folk art and cultural art is very big in rural communities, and it is here. So, was that part of your program for the Apple Festival from the beginning?
It was. Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was from the beginning, and that was, and the reason was because the Bob Bogue, being an artist himself,
and he was a member.
This provided that expertise into that, and of course, it was just a natural fit for us.
Well, what a great history! So we've got art, we've got apples, we've got the celebration of life, we've got fundraising to help service the needs of the community. Now let's talk about the agricultural aspect of the Apple Festival, because that's a big piece of it, right? Is we're celebrating the agriculture, but also helping perpetuate it by selling apples, right?
That's right.
So let's talk about the festival and how many farmers it helps, and then also vendors, because there's no short list, it seems like.
No. The Brushy Mountain Apple Festival was the idea to start it was as to be a fundraiser, but it wanted to also pay homage to the apple growers of the Brushy Mountain community. It wanted to support them in the efforts of their following that livelihood, and to bring recognition to the Brushy Mountain community for the what we was already known for, and that is raising apples and peaches.
Right.
But it was to pull it out to a little bit broader scale.
Right.
And yes, we established this as a way to bring in vendors and make it arts and crafts festival, but also have apples here, and let that be the theme, and then we would use it for the fundraiser that we have.
So it's a one-day event, not a 2-day event, but a one-day event.
One day.
Does your organization, have you ever thought about 2 days, or you said 1 day is enough and we get our job done?
We've thought about it because every year somebody asked us, and many people ask us, why don't you make it 2 days, 3 days, whatever they can. But we have, because we're a volunteer organization, everybody's in our club is volunteers. We have to depend on those people to do this, and for us to spread it out to a 2 or 3 day event, it's asking a lot for people that's volunteering to do this.
I mean, we just wrapped up a full day, started very early. Are you tired?
I'm very tired.
So if we were doing this tomorrow on the second day, we probably would be talking.
I don't know where I could get up or not. That'll be when I get home. But we've really looked. I mean, seriously, we've looked at it, and it for the attendance, and we're very thankful for the attendance that we have. If we spread it out over 2 days, I don't know that we would really have that many more people.
Right.
They would just spread it.
I see.
Maybe they'd wait. Okay, I'll wait till Sunday to go instead of Saturday, or I'll go Friday instead of Saturday.
So one day it certainly is a big event. The town gets full.
Yeah.
A lot of people show up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how it's benefited the community in a broad scope. Not only the apple farmers, it's benefited your group, but in spreading that awareness of the county and the agriculture here into a larger audience, because your festival draws people near and far, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And that has to be something good for everybody, right?
Yeah. It brings people in from all over the southeast. From at least in those areas, and that's that's got to have a tremendous impact on Wilkes County
Right.
on the town of North Wilkesboro and Wilkesboro, and also the surrounding communities.
Right.
And yes, it impacts the Brushy Mountain community because of the recognition, name recognition. And the growers that we do have there, the fruit growers, they have their biggest days at their fruit stands. On the day of the Brushy Mountain Apple Festival.
Yeah.
You know, you think
Sure.
about, well, you have apples here at the festival, but they have tremendous roadside market attendance.
Okay,
on those
so it
days.
supports everything.
It supports all that.
How many orchards are in the Brushy Mountain Ruritan territory?
Well, there's 3 orchards on the Brushy Mountain
Itself.
area road, and in that area there. But we've also have the support of the orchards over in Alexander County,
Right.
which is part of the Brushy Mountain Range.
Sure.
And so there's I believe 4 or 5 over there. So we've got about 8, 10 roughly. Orchards that's involved in that, and most of them all come to the festival here.
Right. So they have a festival over there too in Taylorsville. So
Yes.
do the orchards here go to theirs as well? Or?
They maybe a couple of them do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So occasionally it'll
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
All right. So there's a rumor about the apple pies here, and got a little competition about who does the best apple pie. Of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
You've got your firefighters up there on the mountain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They're bringing those big army stoves down, and right in the center of North Wilkesboro, they're warming those pies up, and they I think they said they sold out today at 2:00. Normally it's around noon.
Yeah.
But today is an interesting year for the festival.
It is.
We've just experienced what apparently is growing to be one of our nation's largest disasters, with a flood in the mountains of which no one would ever imagine would have happened. I called and talked to friends that I know have homes in the mountains here, and they're on the coast, and it was just the sense of disbelief, because they're the ones who always come to the mountains of Wilkes and beyond, and to escape devastation or a bad situation on the coast. And the 3 people I talked to both were saddened and just dumbfounded and couldn't believe that it was happening. And I think everybody's in that same boat. So now we're in a situation of recovery and a lot of sadness going on.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but this morning when I came in, the mist was real thick, and
Yeah, I remember that too.
just the setting up. And I walked around to visit with people, and there was I don't know if we would say heaviness, but it just wasn't as it just wasn't the way that I remembered it over the years.
Yeah.
And my head's not either. I'm sure yours. I mean, we all have got friends and family and folks that are. The waters have subsided here, and our damage wasn't much, but 30 miles from here, we got families in a bad situation.
Yeah.
And that feeling didn't lighten up till about 10 o'clock, and the sun's out, and there are lots of people coming with kids and families. And I was talking to one guest about it, and they said, we didn't know if we should come or not, but we're so glad we did, because this is helping us just to. And she said, forget about it. She says, no, not forget about it, but just not think about it for a minute and just be in the moment here and enjoy the family and the camaraderie. From a club standpoint, that had to be part of a conversation that you guys had.
Yeah.
Talk about that. How did you come up with the decision? Yes, we've got to do this. It's important.
Yeah. It's well, first of all, yes, our hearts are heavy for thinking about the people that's over in the Watauga area and that part, Lansing, the parts of North Carolina, certainly Asheville in that area, and our prayers and thoughts are going out to them. This was something that we thought long and hard about. Mm-hmm. weighed the pros and cons of doing this. We've talked to vendors that express their concerns about coming. Maybe we had several vendors that was really directly impacted by
and they couldn't
this.
be here.
And they couldn't be here. Yeah,
Right.
That's right. But we decided after looking at this, and I mean, as president, it was real hard for me as a decision to think about, okay, do we do this? Is this being selfish to do it right now? But then I go back to what we've just discussed in the last little while here, what this festival is about, what Ruritan is about. And that is that we're doing this to raise money for our fundraiser to support projects in our community. And so, and also along with that, there's many other groups that come to this festival, churches, civic clubs, other organizations that this is their fundraiser,
right,
or at least part of their fundraiser for the year. So if we cancel it, what impact is that going to have on our club, on those organizations, on the vendors, the private vendors that do this for their livelihood? And then too, the weight of just how you felt this morning that a lot of people are dealing with in America right now, and especially in this area of North Carolina and this area of the state and country. How do we need? Don't we need just a little bit of a break and right now and think about something else besides tragedy and devastation and then let's tomorrow and Monday, let's go back to helping those people and get our focus back to there.
I think there's a logic to that because we have to be energized and re-energized.
Yes.
I've talked to so many people who are part of the rescue efforts in various different ways, and when you came into the studio, I was on the phone with somebody that does some shooting for us and video, and I didn't know this, but he told me that he's just gotten back from Asheville, and they're working with recovery programs, and he'd been doing this for 4 days. And I said, "How are you?" And he says, "I'm all right, but it's real heavy, and it's just." It's something that has to be done.
Yeah.
And he had just gotten home. He said, I just needed a break. I'm going back tomorrow. And he said the particular organization he's working with, that was real important, that those who are volunteering have that moment. Yes, you focus, hyper-focus, and then you got to step away for a minute because it's so heavy. I mean, the work is so heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy as in emotionally heavy, and seeing so many people dealing with so much loss and death, and my gosh, our Blue Ridge Parkway is closed indefinitely.
Yes.
We don't know what's going to happen.
I know.
That affects a lot of people.
It does.
So by the Apple Festival moving forward, I saw smiles. I saw some apprehensive smiles, and I spoke to people, and I says, "How you doing?" And one person, and it was a guy, and he just was, this is a rough time. A tear came, and his wife was with him. They hugged, that type of a thing. Yeah. But that was very real, right?
Yeah.
It was very real.
It was.
And then we eat some apples and apple pies and apple cider and do those type of things because we do have to fight again. Yeah, I think that's the spirit of a civic organization too, right?
Yeah, it is. Try to lift people up.
Right.
Try to lift people up.
It was the same conversation with the Rotary Fair. that was this week too. And I had the same conversation with some of those fellas, and they said, look, we serve so many kids. We give them, they get to come in free, and they have one day they have lunch for all the disability kids that have special needs, and it's all about them that day. So they're not different on that day. Yeah. And the leaders I talked to said, this is important that we do this. And we all, I guess the thing about being in a civic organization as far as being a leader too, you're always in the muck, right? You're always helping people. Yeah. And you got to clear your head, right?
You do. And we've been this festival we didn't it all comes so quick. We didn't have time to really promote it, but we've collected items to help the flood victims. We've had vendors that's asked us, can we bring items? Right. And since we're coming to Wilkes County, can we bring something? And then you handle it. We've had a couple vendors that said, okay, give our fee to
whatever
to the flood victims, to help, and we're going to do that. Right. So it's. I
know the Brushy Mountain volunteer fire department and their apples. They had a booth there, and people just kept putting money because all that money would go to that. And I think they're doing a percentage of their profits going to or their sales going to that cause, and it's an important time for us to be caring for each other and kind of love each other through this process as we go through the business of helping people.
This is going to be a long haul. Yeah.
So all the more reason to maybe as people are listening, just giving that thought to being involved with civic organizations from a standpoint of, always being on the ready to help and being with like-minded people. You don't do this just when there's a disaster. You don't do it when there's just one thing that needs to be tackled. You do it all the time.
Yeah. We'd like to take the opportunity to invite anybody that in the Brushy Mountain community, and our community spreads out. We have members that live. That maybe don't live on the Brushy Mountain Road, but they live in Miller's Creek or somewhere like that. But they want to be a part of our club. Right. We meet on the first Monday night each month, and we'd invite them to come up and enjoy a meal with us and sit down. And we meet at 7:00, and we'll tell them a little bit more about Ruritan and about our club, and we'd love to have them come.
Well, I think that's a great thing. How do people reach out? Is there a website? How do people find out about the organization?
You can go to Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club.com, and you can call our Apple. We have a Ruritan number 336-921-3499. Yeah, and you can learn about us on there. Of course, obviously we have our Apple Festival website up, and they can see
learn all about you. Learn all about
that, and they can call me personally, and I'll be glad to talk to them.
There you go. And in the interest of covering the county and the region, if the people are in other areas too, they can still call you, and you'll be glad to hook them up with whoever's in another place, because it's all about the organization growing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're saying now publicly, give me a call. We'll welcome you to come see us. But if you're over there, and you'd rather hang out over there with those people, then you do have the app.
Yes, you live in
Roaring River.
Contact the Ruritan Club there. Yeah. They'd be happy to talk with you. And they're doing the same thing we're doing. They may not be doing the Apple Festival, but they're doing project in their community.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. What a wonderful thing of learning more about the Ruritan Club, learning about the Brushy Mountain Apple Festival, celebrating the 45th. So if I'm counting right, next year, October the 1st Saturday, will be the 45th 46.
I believe you got that right.
That's great. All right, sir. I know your feet are tired.
Yeah. There's some other parts of my body that are tired too, but that's okay. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat with you.
Well, that's great. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.